Hi everyone, this is Sarah. Welcome to the Tiki Room. We're gonna go through some incredible tiki cocktails today and tell you a little bit about the history behind them. The only thing I'm gonna ask you to have on hand outside of your beautiful kit that was delivered to you is a little bit of fresh mint. Hopefully everyone's got their mise en place on hand equipment-wise, and then we've got some ice. Okay, so let's open this guy up. I always think tiki cocktails are an incredible gift. They're so fun to do by yourself, they're fun to do in groups, they're fun to bust out during the holidays to have something a little different than normal, right? They're fun to do during the summer, so this is truly something you could utilize any time of year. So first we've got our insert. We're gonna set that off to the side. We're gonna put all these little baggies of garnish and small ingredients off to the side as well. We've got a couple cans of juice, sparkling water. We've got one little glass container that's tucked in some bubble wrap. You can go ahead and open that guy up. A little bit of citrus here, some limes and an orange, homemade Orgeat, lemongrass syrup for a little bit later, and then of course you've got some light rum, spiced rum, and dark rum, and the best thing about this is these are all 100% non-alcoholic. All of these recipes, however, if you did want to substitute some fully proofed spirits, you can go ahead and switch it out just one for one, okay? So the exact same portions that we've got in the recipe, you can either use the non-alcoholic spirits or the regular spirits. Okay. All right, let's get to it. Let's get to making our first cocktail, which is going to be my take on a very classic Mai Tai, all right? First thing we're gonna have to do, we're gonna cut these limes and an orange in half, all right? So we're gonna take one lime and our orange, and we're just gonna go ahead and we're gonna cut it in half just like this. Then what we wanna do so we get the full strength of juicing out of this is we wanna cut a little X on the top. Whenever you're juicing fruit, whether by hand or a hand juicer, you just wanna cut this nice little X shape in the top, and that cuts through the peel, and that allows us to get the most juice out of that fruit, all right? So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna do the same thing with our little orange. Now these little cuties are great because the skin is so delicate that we really don't need to cut that X on it because it's gonna juice really nicely anyway. Now we've got our cocktail shaker right here. We're gonna juice both of those, all 4 halves of these, into our cocktail shaker. So you can go ahead and do it by hand, or if you have a hand juice mixer at home, you can use that as well. All right, excellent. So once we've got our limes juiced, we'll go ahead and go into our oranges. And for this cocktail, I really like adding the whole fruit to this as well while we're shaking it up. So go ahead, you can put that in your cocktail shaker as well. Now we're gonna add 2 ounces of the homemade Orgeat. We've got that right here. Now it does have a tendency to separate, so go ahead and just give it a little shake, okay? Now what is Orgeat? So this is an orange flower water and almond syrup. All right, so if you are allergic to nuts, you can certainly utilize the lemongrass syrup instead, but this does have nuts in it, and it's the only thing in this kit, all right? Now, if you don't have a measuring jigger on hand, you can use the top. If you have a shaker like mine, you can use the top of a shaker that'll naturally be about 1 ounce, or if you have a shot glass, that's about 2 ounces, okay? I'm gonna go ahead and add 2 ounces of our syrup here. Now we need to add 2 ounces of our light or white rum. So that's gonna be this first guy right here. So go ahead and pop that open. We're gonna go ahead and add 2 ounces. 1 and 2. This company is called Lyre. They're out of Australia. If you've never had non-alcoholic spirits, go ahead and try a little bit by itself, kind of figure out what's going on there. Absolutely delicious. I think it has a lot of really great aromas without that sting of alcohol, right? So now we need to add a little bit of ice to our concoction. So I'm gonna come over here, I'm gonna grab some ice. We're gonna put the top onto our cocktail shaker. And then whenever we're shaking, we wanna shake for about 30 seconds or until you can feel the outside of that cocktail shaker get nice and cold and you can almost no longer hold it anymore, okay? Once that's nice and shaken up, we need to designate our glasses. So the best part about a tiki class, right, is you've got those fun tiki cocktail glasses at home. Now for this purpose, I want you to see exactly what I'm doing. So I'm utilizing some glass glasses here so you can see what's going on inside of that glass. Now we're gonna divide this evenly and strain this cocktail. Now, if you have a strainer on top, that's wonderful. If not, you can utilize something like this, okay, to strain that cocktail and make sure we're not using any old ice here. So I like going a little bit at a time and back and forth. Now we need to add a floater. Okay, so I've got my bar spoon right here. Now the consistency of the non-alcoholic dark rum is a little bit different than your traditional dark rum would be. So this is gonna naturally just float right on top. But when you're adding a floater, you can actually pour it along the backside of a spoon and it'll nicely kind of stay right on top there for you. Now we wanna add about an ounce per. This is a 4-ounce container. So if you're blindly pouring or if you're measuring, just make sure we only use for both of these cocktails about half of this glass, all right? Now the last thing we need to garnish are a beautiful little mint sprig. Now my favorite thing about mint, sniff it. We're gonna talk about this a little bit later too, but if you really wanna release that aroma, it's a slap, okay? And then it's way powerful there. And that is my riff on a Mai Tai. Cheers. This is absolutely delicious, but I'm gonna set it off to the side. The next cocktail that we're gonna do here is actually the Pog Spritz. So Pog, what is Pog? It's passion fruit, orange, and guava. So Hawaii doesn't have a lot of really classic cocktails to them, but this combination of juices has been around forever, right? So things that you can find on the island and people drinking fresh juice all the time, Pog was really created. So although they don't have a lot of alcoholic cocktails that are famous to Hawaii, traditionally Pog was one of those drinks that was just always kind of part of the culture. So we've kind of put a slight spin on that. It's gonna be a spritz. We're gonna add something that's a little bit sparkling to it, and of course a little bit of our rum as well. We're gonna go into our cocktail shaker again. All right, so make sure you're cleaning that guy out. We're just gonna give it a little rinse with water. The first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna take one of those limes again, and step one is we're gonna cut this in half and we're gonna score each side once again. And we're just gonna use 1/2 of these limes, okay? So we're gonna put one off to the side again. We're just gonna use one, giving us a little bit of acid to this, because as delicious as passion fruit, orange, and guava are all together, they can be a little overpowering, and I think every cocktail needs a well balance of a little bit of sugar, right, and natural sweetness, and a little tart. Now we're going to add 6 ounces of our passion fruit and orange juice, so that's in the can right here. So now in our cocktail shaker, right, we have a juiced half of a lime. We've got 6 ounces of our passion fruit juice. And now we're gonna go into our spiced rum. And we're gonna add 2 ounces or half of this container of the spiced rum as well. Now we're gonna finish that with ice. We're just gonna give it a slight little shake. You can go a little bit easier on it because our last ingredient is actually going to be something that's sparkling. And when we shake a cocktail, the whole reason behind doing that is we shake cocktails that are not spirit forward, okay? We stir cocktails that are going to be spirit forward. Because our sparkling guava is gonna add that sparkling for us anyway, we don't need to quite shake it as much as we would if we weren't adding that. We're just gonna mix it up a little bit. So let's say 15 seconds, okay? Let's get 2 glasses filled with ice. We're going to strain evenly and divide this into our glasses. All right. Fantastic. Place that off to the side. Now we've got our guava juice, so to open this, you're just gonna pull the tab and it'll lift straight off. Now we're gonna top each glass with the sparkling guava. Get right there on top. Go ahead and fill it to the brim. I like having that slight different color variation, but if you want to stir it up, you're more than welcome to. I think this looks like a nice, beautiful little sunset. The last thing we need to do is we need to garnish this with our beautiful dehydrated dragon fruit, okay? And the way we're gonna do that is in this tiny little baggie with the umbrellas. We've got some clothespins, and you're gonna go ahead and just fasten that to the side, right? Oh my goodness, look at that. It looks so proper. You're like a real life bartender there. Awesome. All right, let's take a little sip. Delicious. Guys, awesome. Well, cheers. Cheers yourselves. Way to go. This is incredible. I'm gonna put mine off to the side because now I'm gonna have to double fist with this Mai Tai. All right, so this next cocktail is a super fun one. I know we were talking about history before, but I think everyone, at least that grew up in California, knows about something called the Dole Whip, or if you grew up in Florida, right? So the Dole Whip is something that was created by the Dole Fruit Company and launched as a little soft serve ice cream stand at Disneyland in front of the Tiki Room. Fun fact, if you are the first one to order a Dole Whip of the day, they will give you a button saying that you had the first Dole Whip of the day, so next time you're at Disneyland. This cocktail was really created to kind of emulate those flavors, right? It's creamy, it's pineapple, it's got a little spice to it, but away we go. All right, so this is the Dole Whip It. So the first thing we're gonna do, we're gonna go into a cocktail shaker one more time. We're gonna add coconut milk powder. Okay, so that's in one of these little baggies right here. Go ahead and open that up. We're gonna just add the whole bag into our cocktail shaker. We're gonna juice that other half of the lime. You remember the one we cut but didn't juice yet? We're gonna juice that. Go ahead and put your hand juicer or juice it by hand, whatever you'd prefer. Now we're gonna add 2 ounces of our spiced rum. So that actually should be what's left in your little bottle. So go ahead, you don't need to measure. We're just gonna add the rest of that spiced rum if you've been working with me all along. Otherwise, it is 2 ounces. Alrighty, and then we're gonna add 1 ounce of dark rum. And that's what I've got left here. So I'm just gonna empty that into our container as well. And the final ingredient we'll be adding are 6 ounces of pineapple juice. And I know that pineapple juice separates pretty easily, so we're just gonna give this can a little shake before we open it. All right, speaking of Dole, of course we had to use Dole juice for this. Because we've got all this powder in here, I wanna make sure it really dissolves and don't wanna have any of that ice kind of standing in the way and blocking it so we get some of these little chunks. So what I wanna do is doing something called dry shaking. A lot of times this will be done when you're utilizing egg white in a cocktail to really make sure it's developing that froth and kind of the 2 different textures coming together because they're pretty different viscosity. But in this case, we wanna take powder and liquid and make them one. So dry shaking is just without ice, so don't add any ice. We're gonna put the top onto our shaker and we're gonna shake that for about 30 seconds now, okay? We're gonna go add some ice and we're gonna shake it again. Now we're gonna grab our glasses. We're gonna put some ice in here. If you have the choice and your refrigerator makes crushed ice, I would say this is the perfect opportunity. We're gonna divide it evenly into our glasses just like we've done so many times before. If you happen to have a mesh strainer, just to catch any of those clumps that we tried to prevent in the coconut powder, you can go ahead and do so. And if you don't have a strainer to double strain, it is not the end of the world. Please do not worry about it. Once we've divided our cocktail into our 2 glasses, we're gonna take out some nutmeg and we're gonna shave some delicious aromatic nutmeg on top of this cocktail. We've got our microplane. We've got our little nutmeg in this bag, and you can just go right all over the top. And I am a spice fiend, so I am relentless when it comes to spice. I'll probably get halfway through this cocktail and shave more over the top. I'll set this back off to the side because it's yellow, and I love that we have mint here. And it's meant for a beautiful garnish. I don't want the mint aroma to overpower the nutmeg though, so I'm not gonna slap it. I'm just gonna stick it in off to the side just for that beautiful look. We have our great little pineapples. You can go ahead and either put it right in or just off to the side. This is your cocktail, your choice, how to approach it, all right? So that is our Dole Whip It. Cheers. All right, guys, well, we have reached the end. Our final cocktail is nothing but the classic mojito. Although not typically thought of as a tiki cocktail, a mojito, we would be nowhere without the mojito, right? So basically when Christopher Columbus sailed and by happenstance found the United States and the Caribbean, basically sugarcane was brought from Spanish explorers and really developed in those native lands, right? And in Cuba, that was already starting to distill products and utilize spirits for medicinal purposes. Sugarcane sugarcane was brought in, as was the production of rum years later when someone was just messing around with it. And really once rum came on the scene, things like moonshine or just random distillations that people would create in their own homes, that was kind of put aside, and people really started drinking spirits with rum for the first time for enjoyment and not just for medicinal practices. First gentleman to come over and say, hey, we need to put this incredible rum with this already incredible recipe was none other than Sir Francis Drake, right? Famous pirate. What we're gonna do today, now we talked about this already through this entire class. We're juicing a lot of limes. So those remaining 2 limes we have, we're gonna cut in half, we're gonna score, and we're gonna juice them. Now, one other little thing that you can do, if you are someone that when you have a mojito, you really enjoy those little bits of mint and kind of that nice visual, I don't know, it's almost like you've got glitter in your glass, right? The zest and the mint, you can go ahead and you can take one of these fleshy sides of the lime and take that peeler and you can just get some of that zest off and put it in our glass. Okay, that's an option. If you want to take the time to do that, you can. If not, no problem. And then step 3 under our classic mojito, right? We're gonna add 2 ounces of that cucumber lemongrass syrup. So I maybe added 1/3 of what's in that container, a little less than 2 ounces. We're gonna add a hefty amount of fresh mint. We're gonna add the rest of our light rum. So I'm just gonna go through and add our liquid first. So I'm gonna add the rest of the light rum. And you see this beautiful bunch of mint that we still have. We're gonna go through, and the first thing we're gonna do is pick out our garnishes. So I liked those to be the little hearts. Now the remainder, we're just gonna tear it off. We don't need the stems, but we need all those delicious leaves. And as you add them to the cocktail shaker, we're gonna slap it. So keep picking off a bunch of this mint. We really won't need much after this, right? This is our final cocktail, so really go crazy with the mint. What is a mojito if not with mint? And get the remaining little guys there. Perfect. I think the ice kind of muddles the mint enough, and we had our little slap. But if you are one that loves to muddle, you just have to muddle very gently. What will happen if you muddle too aggressively, especially with mint, is you'll start getting a very bitter flavor from the mint, and it won't be that sweet, beautiful mint oil. So if you'd like to muddle, very gently, just a couple times, and we push down and we twist. We're gonna grab some ice and we're gonna shake it up. I like any of that mint or those little zesting particles to kind of come through. So for this one, I'm not going to use my strainer that came with my shaker. I'm gonna use a different guy right here. Strain in half once again. We've got our Hawaiian sparkling water here, surf water. And we're just gonna pour that over the top. I'm gonna give it a light little stir. Now we've got our cute little umbrellas, because this is making us feel like we're on vacation. Take a few bunches of mint together. Cheers. Well, thank you so much, everyone. This has been a phenomenal class. If yours came out half as good as mine did, and I'm sure they did, I'm sure they came out better, this was an amazing class.